Back with another edition. This time, SEC Championship, Georgia. We didn't think we would get in, then we did, but we're here. Like we predicted it the whole time, this whole season. At the very beginning, we said Georgia SEC Championship. So Georgia's here. They're playing Texas. Tickets pretty low.
How much?
Look, not low and like, hey, you can go and get in price is $50. So, tickets are face value. So that should tell you that there's not going to be that many Texas people. It's probably going to be, and especially I was looking at like SeatGeek and StubHub. Most of the places are on the Texas side that are available. So it seems like there's going to be a good amount of Georgia people at this game. Georgia comes in as a 2.5 point favorite, obviously 4 o'clock. I don't want to sound like a Sports Nation blog, but here we are. Initial thoughts on the game. It's hard to beat a team twice. Georgia's playing them twice, this time in our backyard in Atlanta.
I'm still not determined. I know everybody tells me that it's a good thing, including Kirby, to be playing an SEC championship, but I'm going to reserve judgment to see what happens. To me, I think there's a lot of disincentive to be playing in this game. But now that we're here, playing Texas, you and I talked about it, and other people said it. There's a chance that Georgia plays Texas 3 times in a year, and to me, I'm not really sure that's a great thing. It's hard, like you said, it's hard to beat a team twice. Look. There's some things about the game that you can say when we played them out in Austin, that's probably not going to happen again. The turnovers, the short fields, all those things that benefited Georgia, I'm not sure we can't bank on those, right? Obviously, Texas is played in the SEC schedule. They deserve to be there. They have made an effort and have been much more physical in terms of running the ball. And that, to me, is the key to the game. If Texas can run the ball consistently, and it doesn't even have to be great, but if they can run the ball against Georgia to take some of the pressure off Ewers because of his mobility issues with his ankle injury, and if they can stop Georgia from pinning their ears back and bringing our defensive ends and linebackers, it's going to be a long game for Georgia. Having said that, we all know, based on the athletes and all those sorts of things, Georgia has not played that well on offense or defense lately. So hopefully Georgia can put a complete game together in the time that they need it. I think this is a coin toss game. I'd heard that Georgia was actually an underdog by 1.5. That must have really swung in the last 48 hours.
It's been it opened up. Georgia was a favorite. Then it went to 1.5. Then it was a pick 'em. Then it was a 1.5. Texas, and then now it's gone to 2.5. Public money is definitely going to be on Texas. I think a lot of the country does not want to see Georgia win anything, let alone an SEC championship.
I know I don't want to get off on this rant, but first of all, going back to the game. If the left tackle for Texas can go,
he's out.
He is out.
Yeah,
that's actually big. I'm actually glad Ewers is in and the left tackle's out. So that may be a recipe for Arch Manning getting in sooner and more often than what we thought. Especially if we can heat up Ewers. That's a prediction. But it's funny to me to go back. I don't know what Kirby has done to piss off the CFP committee and all the powers and all the money, but they were dead set on having Alabama be a part of this playoff picture. And as it stands right now, it's not going to move, right? They're 11th or 12th?
The only way that Alabama is out of the playoff is if SMU loses to Clemson. That'll move SMU down. And I would assume it would move Alabama out and put Clemson in as one of the automatic buys, which is crazy. But.
Again, we've said this, and I know we probably sound like a broken record and beating a dead horse, but this is not the 12 best teams. Regardless of what happens, this is all about money. Think about it. You've got Notre Dame. You're going to have Ohio State. Where they're seated, I don't know, but they're definitely going to be in. You got Notre Dame. You got Texas. You've got Ohio State. You got Oregon, Alabama. Those are all marquee, and they know that makes good TV and good ratings, and they're going to do everything they can to put them in, which is funny to me because Georgia must not draw outside of I don't know. I don't if they don't draw outside the South. Southeast. I don't get why, but I would say you're right. The committee has not liked Georgia all year long, and frankly, even last year, we go from 1 to 6, and we lost the championship game. It's funny how they've decided to, deliver a speech. The guy, whoever the Michigan guy is that's head of the committee, I think he came out and said essentially, you're not going to be – he implied that you're not going to be penalized for playing in a championship game. I think you're already penalized, honestly, when it comes to recruiting and roster management.
Well, for sure.
Behind the 8 ball if you're playing in the championship. So
right.
They have to really think about this going forward.
Well, since we're on it, let's talk about the playoff real quick. So Georgia should be in the playoff, regardless of what happens on Saturday, which kind of makes this game like I don't even because we know both teams, if what the committee's saying is true, both teams are going to be in the playoff. So it kind of makes this game anticlimactic, right?
If you believe what the committee says, I do not. I don't have any effing clue what they're doing. I really don't know.
I don't think they know what they're doing either. That's
because they've talked about strength of schedule, and then they've gone out by their actions and blown that argument. They've said that we look at the eyeball test. Well, whose eyeballs exactly are you using? Are the people that are looking on the eyeball test, do they really know football? What is this? These are ADs and administrators. How many I really don't know. How many football coaches are on this thing?
Let's see. Let's pull it up.
So those are all questions. Whenever you start getting 12 or 13 people in a room, it becomes a beauty contest, and there's a lot of shenanigans that can go on. And I don't know how you fix it. I think some combination of the BCS where you have more of a computer generated weighing all these different factors instead of having human beings, and a Big Ten, you're going to have allegations of bias in this thing. If they keep doing it and construct the committee the way that it is, you're always going to have. Do you trust somebody from Michigan, since we whipped that ass down at the Orange Bowl and embarrassed them, of being objective when it comes to Georgia or knowing anything about the Southeastern Conference? I don't.
No, I don't. So far, I see 2 coaches, and I only know, spent 4 years coaching at Ohio University, Wake Forest, and Baylor. Jim Grobe. So there's 3 coaches. Gary Pinkel, by the way, is on the committee. There's Randy McDaniel. So there's another guy. So that's 4. Hold on. We're going to do this live. Nope. Rhodes. He was an athletic director. Mike Riley. That sounds familiar. 48 years, Oregon State. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Nebraska. Let's see. David Snyder. He doesn't look like a coach. Let's see. Miami's athletic director. Will Shields. Obviously, he played. So how many are we at? Let's see. 1,
7,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're at 6. 2 chicks. Definitely didn't play football.
Well, we just lost all the female audience. Thanks.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
Terminus.
And an athletic director. Wow. So 6 out of the, let's see. Hold on. Live count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 7 out of 13. Less than half. More than half. Well,
yeah, more than half.
More than half.
And
So
Gary Hinkle was Missouri, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So and you have Arkansas, but again, there's obviously a Big Ten bias.
Well, sure, and it's also if you've been an athletic director and a president of the university, you've been around football. You've made decisions related to the program of football as well as other. But can you really sit there and tell me that an SMU, I'm just choosing them, or a Boise State? I mean, I get that they've had to negotiate all this stuff out, but there's no way those two represent. And I could even make an argument against Penn State being the thing. I get it; they've only lost one game, right?
Yeah,
But their schedule, when you compare it to an SEC schedule, is just not. It's not the same. And so I don't know.
well,
I don't know how they.
I mean, Oregon is good, but how good are they? I mean, they've only played really one game where everyone goes, "Okay, that's
Well,
a challenging game."
if you take that Ohio State lost to Michigan and Ohio State only lost to Oregon by 1 point, right? And it was because of a brain fart from their quarterback. They would have had a chance to win that thing at the end. I don't know. I don't know how tough of a schedule it is. I would be, honestly, if I was a Big Ten right now, I would be questioning. I don't know. You can't take one game, Ohio State, but I would be questioning how tough of a schedule. How are we really going to match up with some of these other conferences? Same with the ACC. I mean,
in the Big 12 with Arizona State or whoever wins the Big 12. I don't even know who's playing in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, here's the thing: the whole system is flawed. If we were actually going to do this, and have a true champion, it would be the 12 best teams. It's not, because we put all these stupid parameters on it. It's Arizona State and Iowa State. I mean, good Lord. We put all these parameters on it to make it where it's competitive. That's the word that they use. It's just not. And here's the other thing. We live in a world right now, and this could change by the end of this playoff format, where there's only two conferences that they're head and shoulders above everyone else, and that's the Big Ten and the SEC.
Agreed.
And then I would say the SEC, there's a gap between the SEC and the Big Ten, but that could be me being biased.
I think it also depends on the year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I would say your first part of that argument is Big Ten and SEC are the dominant conferences, and the champion is going to come out of one of those two. If I had to, I'd bet everything I own right now on that.
Yeah. So the problem is going to be moving forward. How do you make that equal, and how do teams in the ACC and the Big 12 continue to compete? And I don't have the answer. So I don't know. The best thing would be if we separated all the teams by region and just, oh wait, sorry, that already happened.
Well, again, we're fixing a problem, and we're a heart surgeon, and we never even passed biology, so I get that. But to me, with it, if you're going to have the conferences like this, it's almost becomes like the NFL. If I'm thinking about this the right way, why don't you know how you have the AFC and the NFC, right? Or whatever. You have and then you have the different leagues, and that way you have standings. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You have standings within the division.
That's probably where we're going to end up going, where the ACC and the SEC combined, and I don't know what you would do with the Big 12 because they're the odd man out there. And then you have the Big 10, and you're going to have to shave part of the ACC, like the Boston colleges, the Syracuse. They're going to go to the Big 10. North Carolina, Virginia, Duke, all of them go down to the SEC. The Big 12 probably gets split as well into the Big 10 and the Pac-12, and that's what we're looking at. That would be
doesn't exist anymore. It does, but it
does with two as a Pac-2. But I'm saying, like, you put USC, Oregon, Washington back into the Pac-12, but it's under the Big Ten umbrella.
Yes, the West Division. of the Big Ten.
Right. And you just that would just be the Pac-12, and you just call it the Pac-12 division, whatever you want to do. That would make the most sense. And then you have standings, you have rankings, and then you put the 12 best teams. You have standings. If you're the number one in the standings in your division, that would be good, and you're not sacrificing a ton of what makes college football college football. But right now, we're sacrificing everything, and what's going to end up what is going on, and I probably have said it here multiple times, the people who are in charge of college football think college football is only going to continue to grow, and that the base, the people who are the most passionate, are going to continue to stay. I watched a video today about it. The top 25 teams, and then the top 25 teams that weren't in the top 25, so I guess the 26 to 50. 26 through 50 had more attendance numbers than the top 25 did. People in seats.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's what makes college football uniquely college football. Even there's not one lateral chase to a championship. There's fake, cups and rivalries and, stuff that other people care about. So what that all means is that college football the people that are in charge think, oh, well, we can get the casuals. We can get the people that were in the Northeast that don't have someone that went to Fordham. They'll watch Alabama versus Texas. Well, that's not really the case. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to damage the product. You're going to damage people and people getting into it. And the hardcore fans like WWE, like NASCAR, who had to learn and then course correct. And the problem is, I don't know if you can course correct it. And I don't really want to see college football in that low of a spot, because it's always been, throughout history, has always been the number 2 sport, whether it's baseball and Major League Baseball, college football, and then the NFL, and then college football. It's always been number 2 in America. So I don't know. So I wish there was a voice in the room that would fight for that. I think Nick Saban is that voice. But again, I don't know if anyone's paying attention to him or not.
It was interesting, in the press conference Kirby had, I guess today, or the most recent one, he said, somebody asked something to the point of what does it mean to play an SEC championship? And he did the diplomatic, politically correct thing, is like, anytime, I think this is the best venue, best championship I've ever been a part of. But at the end of the day, he said, you're getting to play to rest. That's what you're getting to play for. But if you take that same argument, isn't Tennessee getting a rest?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't Notre Dame getting a rest?
Yeah.
And they could be hosting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, to me, you can't tell me that wasn't constructed as, we need to get a playoff game in Notre Dame Stadium. We need to get Alabama, because I do think Alabama, if they get right, just like Georgia, if they get right, they can wreak havoc in this thing. And I would say this, people that want to talk about Miami being in over Alabama or whatever, honestly speaking, if you put Miami in there, do you think they could wreck this whole thing? I don't. I think Alabama could.
Yeah, obviously.
I think South Carolina could.
South Carolina has a better argument than Alabama or Ole Miss. I know Lane Kiffin's on Twitter having, a meltdown. South Carolina has more of an argument to be in over those two, or those three. They have a better shot over Miami, to me. I would hate to play South Carolina right now.
Me too.
And I don't think the rest of the college football world knows, outside of people in the SEC.
Well,
I think that's part of the problem.
That watches and pays attention to, I guess maybe it is just Southeastern Conference. I would tell you they're one of the hottest teams right now. I think they got significantly better throughout the year.
Yeah, and hey, look, they got cheated out of that LSU game, and they should have won the LSU game. If they win that game, they're in the playoffs, and I would say South Carolina has I don't know if they would win the national championship.
Yeah, I'm not saying
they have a good shot of at least playing in it.
I'll take South Carolina over. Honestly, I'd take them over Notre Dame, Ohio State. I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel about Oregon. I've only watched Oregon, in all honesty, couple times. It was Ohio State, and there's one other game I watched them. I mean, they're, like you said, they're a good team, but I don't know enough about them to be passing judgment.
Yeah,
They're undefeated, right? So
yeah,
and they're in a major conference, so I got no gripes with it. But people like Lane Kiffin, just like, yeah, was I disappointed? Do I think the system's screwed up? But last year when we went from number 1 to number 6, hey man, everybody understood the rules of the game, and all you had to do was win. You those are crocodile tears as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I have no sympathy at all. Unless it's Georgia getting fucked, I don't really care. Now,
well,
even
last year, I like to be consistent. I said even last year, I like to be consistent. If you can't, in the biggest stage, in the biggest game, if you can't beat Alabama in that situation and take care of business, so it's not even a question. We know it's flawed. So take it out of their hands. Quit making it a beauty contest.
I agree with that. Why are we revisiting a podcast a year ago? I'm just telling you,
same shit.
Georgia got fucked
again, except by 12. That's the thing I've told you. We take a flawed system that
I agree,
and then say, hey, we've screwed this up so bad. We're not going to really change anything, but let's add more teams so we can fuck it up even worse. That is the most asinine thing I've ever heard, and it's really an insult to college football fans that sit here and watch and devote a large emotion and a large part of their wallets of going to these games. They travel, Georgia fans, and then you're going to sit there and feed us a bologna sandwich after that and tell us that it's steak. Fuck you.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the game. We spent enough time on the stupid playoff. I'm sure Sunday, whenever the rankings, the final rankings come out, we'll talk about it. Like I said at the beginning, it's hard to be a team twice. I think, though, however, this sets up perfectly for Georgia. I feel like Georgia has a pretty good shot of winning this game. Here's a couple of reasons. One, history. The SEC team in a rematch in season. What?
I didn't say anything. Sorry.
Oh, I thought something happened. In a rematches in the SEC championship, they're 5-2. The winner of the first matchup is Georgia, being one of those teams that is part of the 2 where they beat Auburn. Also, they're in the 5 because they played LSU and they got beat. Anyway. Kirby Smart, when the team not named Alabama has played in the SEC championship, we're 2-1. The one loss, 2019 LSU, one of the greatest teams of all time. I would say probably the greatest team of all time.
That's offense. For
sure. And Georgia's terrible offense. So that was a dichotomy of football. But and here's the other thing. I went back and I watched the game this week, the first game, Georgia versus Texas. Texas did give us a short field with the turnovers, but we turned over the ball a ton and shot ourselves in the foot over and over again. Drop passes were a theme also, but here's what I'll say. Georgia left a ton of points on the board, a ton, and that was on the road. Prime time. Texas had all the leverage in the world to bury us. They had chance after chance. They couldn't get it done. Maybe they learned from those mistakes. Steve Sarkisian is a really good offensive coordinator, but Texas, when they've only played 2 teams that have a decent defense and a competent offense. Those 2 teams were A&M. The other one was Georgia. Texas only scored 17 points in that whole game against A&M, and I know it was a rivalry, but I mean, I'm talking about they gave A&M in that second half every opportunity in the world to come back in that game and at least tie it up or win it. They had the ball at the 1-yard line, and they couldn't punch it in. I think Texas has gotten better defensively since that game. I think Georgia's gotten better offensively in that game. So we'll see what happens. But if I'm feeling very confident right now that I don't know why, that could be totally wrong. But it's our league. Sorry, Texas. We're playing for the old guard of the SEC. I would think if you're anybody from the old SEC and people like Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, and A&M do not want to see Texas winning the SEC. I think this is a moment to stand up and say, hey, this is our conference. You just can't come in here and run it over. Kirby Smart, again, with a little bit of rest, an extra day, I feel pretty good about the coaching matchup as well. So I'm pretty confident. I think Georgia is going to win this thing. So, yeah.
You're a lot more confident than I am. I'll pick up on a couple of points. I think Sarkisian is a really good coach. I think offensively he's going to have some new wrinkles in there. I think he's smart enough to know and look at our game film and know what causes Georgia problems. And he's got Ewers that's hurt. He's got a left tackle that's down. I anticipate seeing a lot more Archie Manning and more of a dual threat, and that gives Georgia problems. Defensively, I think we got some problems, and I don't know exactly where the problems are. Certainly, cornerback, I think, is a problem, and Texas can throw the ball. We haven't been able to stop the run, but I would tell you, based on all that, the only thing that I would say is we've talked about this before. If they keep Ewers in, styles make fights. And the way they try to run their offense and the way Georgia plays and vice versa, it matches up well. I'd rather have Texas in there than Texas A&M. Looking at it, I believe Texas A&M and style they play with would give Georgia more of a problem, just schematically, than Texas does. But I still am not overly confident because I'm not a believer in this. I'm a believer that this is a good team. Georgia, I'm talking about. They're good. Yeah. And I think they potentially could be really good, but I've seen nothing this year based on the whole year to tell me that they can put it together for 4 quarters, that we're not going to have drop passes, that we're not going to get gashed, that we're not going to have guys running wide ass open in the secondary that we can tackle. Those things don't get fixed in a week. And I would like to believe they are, but now if the players decide to play and they execute, I believe Georgia can win this game, but I just haven't seen enough evidence based on what I've watched this year and I want them to win. I desperately do because I don't trust the CFP committee, as we've talked about, but I think it's going to be tough sledding. The only thing home, when I say home, being in the Georgia Dome, I think that bodes well. I looked into Ewers' eyes before the A&M game, and I made a comment to you. I think he was a little bit scared.
Yeah,
I think he was a little scared of the moment. And it doesn't mean he played awful, but he did turn the ball over some.
Yeah.
So I believe that could have an impact on our crowd. If it is the majority, which I'm sure it will, if it's 70-30, something like that, Georgia fans versus Texas, I think maybe we could rattle them. But if we get off to a slow start and let Texas steal the momentum and take the crowd out of it, totally neutralizes whatever advantage that we can have from by playing in Atlanta. So if we're expecting as Georgia fans to see anything different, I would say that's hope instead of based on historical evidence. I anticipate Georgia's going to get off to a sluggish start. They're going to be able to run the ball on us because they're going to make a concerted effort. So, I hope Georgia wins, but I have a bad feeling about this one.
Well, I'm glad you have a bad feeling. I don't think Texas is going to be able to run the ball on us. I just don't. I don't think last time was not a fluke. I don't know why. They've gotten better and they have improved, but I don't think they can do enough. And here's the other thing too. I don't know if you're going to see Arch Manning or not, because unless Ewers is injured. They asked Sark in the press conference today. We're recording Thursday. why did you pull him out? Was he upset? And he said, yeah, I'm sure Quinn's was mad at me and didn't like that too much. That's why I haven't done it. So, how much we see of him, I don't know. And here's the other thing too. The slow starts, maybe, but this team's been so inconsistent on starting slow or scoring I in the first 2 drives. So I have no idea. I mean, we'll see. I feel like Georgia should be able to, look, this is what I'll say. If they can't score in the, I don't know, first quarter, early second quarter, then we're not going to do that in the playoffs, and you shouldn't expect the national title. So that should be the very minimum. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, hey, in 2019, that Georgia team against LSU, they should have scored early in that game.
Guess what? Who dropped the pass?
God, who was that? It wasn't Arian.
You sure?
No, Arian. He would be gone by now. Who was that who dropped that pass?
I can't remember now, but a drop pass could have changed that entire game at the very beginning of it.
Oh my God, who was it? Demetrius Robertson?
I don't know. We'll have to go back off there and look, but.
Yeah, but anyway, that
drop passes against Arian, I don't think there's anybody else but him. I know I should be banging on a guy, but
I watched the 2021 highlights of it was Stetson Bennett highlights. Arian Smith looked great. I was like, oh wow, this guy, who is this guy? So we'll see what happens. I don't know why, maybe it's false confidence. I don't know, but I feel like given the styles, given this, this team has been tested time and time again.
That part.
Here's another test. They've answered the bell. Hearing what Carson said about his, I don't know if you heard it, but he was like, yeah, this season hasn't been sunshine and rainbows. It hasn't been easy. It's been a very hard season. But we get an opportunity to get it right and, have the ability to, accomplish all the goals that we started off this summer. That to me gives me confidence that he's at least going to play well. And if Carson plays well, I think Georgia wins this game. I mean, it's pretty simple. So I'll give a score prediction.
All right.
Here's the thing. Texas is going to have to hold Georgia to under 20 points. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, and here's the other thing too. Sorry, I know I'm getting distracted. I'll make this quick. Every team that's ever tried to play ball control and punch the clock has not beaten Georgia. They've come close.
Tech sure did come close.
Kentucky, they've come close. But here's the thing: the onslaught's going to happen. It's going to happen, and you better be damn near perfect. And Tech wasn't. Kentucky wasn't. So you just can't beat Georgia that way. You have to go out there and try to score as many points as you can, a la Alabama and Ole Miss. So, and that's what Texas's MO is going to be in this game. It ain't going to work. So give me Georgia 35, Texas 24.
I'll say give me Texas 30 and give me Georgia 27.
Well, every time you pick Georgia to loss, I end up being right. So I feel pretty good about
Good. That's part of my plan. Not really.
Well, all right. Well, anyway, like us, like and subscribe to the YouTube, Terminus Sports _ATL. That's also the username on all of our social medias on Instagram, TikTok, and X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Unishippers are presenting sponsors. Give us a shout.
We work with small to medium-sized businesses. Ship anything from envelopes all the way up to full pallets and full truckloads, both domestically and internationally. If you're an e-commerce company, it's a busy fourth quarter. I know the last thing you want to be doing is looking at your shipping during the busiest time of the year. But I would tell you, it's almost like one of those must-do. You should be taking a look at it because FedEx and UPS Direct is going to be going up on their rates for about 6%. So right now is a good time to get in front of that. So if you want to reach out to us and see if we can help you reduce your costs, make things a little bit easier for you, reach out to Unishippers Atlanta and ask for Holland Martin.
All right. Shout out Holland. Shout out, I don't know, TikTok boy, Julian Humphrey. And I feel pretty confident, but we'll see you Sunday and we'll dissect it one way or the other. All right. See you on the other side.
See you.